Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of the Break It Down show. We've got a hell of an episode for you guys today. My buddy Mike Van Story is a co-producer. He's a lifelong friend of mine, and he said, hey, I know a World War II vet, and I think you should have him on the show. And so we did. His name is Chet Rohn, and he was in the 11th Armor, and that's part of the unit that helped break through at the Battle of Bastogne. And you're going to hear his memories and his recollections. Chet is over 95 years old. And he is just such a delight to be around. He's just heard and seen everything. And I'm so proud to be able to share him as a liberator, as a warrior, and just truly an American treasure. And there's a neat story that goes within all of this. So Mike says, hey, let's get this guy Chet. And of course, I say yes, as a World War II veteran. I'd be honored to tell this story. And it just so happens that Andy Biggio, the guy who's writing the book, The Rifle, and we'll definitely tell you more about Andy later on, but remember that name. Andy and Scott Husing, he's an award-winning author and a producer on the show as well. They were having a trip with a bunch of World War II veterans back to the Battle of the Bulge for the 75th anniversary of the fight. And I asked Chet, I said, Chet, you were at the Battle of the Bulge. Are you going on this trip? And he's like, I don't know about it. And so we were able to connect Chet to Andrew Biggio, and we got Chet's on an airplane right now coming back from that trip at the Battle of the Bulge. We got to put his feet on that battlefield one last time, and it was a super exciting thing for him to do, and we're awfully proud that all of the pieces impossibly fell together to have that. Look, all these World War II guys have incredible stories. Chet is among them. I mean, just the fact that they liberated concentration camps, and you can see it still makes him emotional, and it's hard to have that conversation and not be emotional yourself. You guys are going to love this episode. Okay, so I'm going to be really short. You guys know what to do. Support the show, and listen, save the brave, savethebrave.org. We can always slow down and take time for charity, so let's do that. If you're going to do your annual giving here at the end of the year, think about us. It can be a boat. It can be stock options. It can be cars. It can be land. Whatever it is, we'll find a way to put that to use to help these veterans and save some lives. SaveTheBrave.org. Do me a favor and join us in supporting. Okay, here comes Chet Rohn, and you're about to hear a crazy story.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is Chet Rohn, and you're listening to the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Chet is an American treasure. He's a liberator, and he's my hero. And I'm already getting emotional. I also have Alec, his grandson, sitting here. Chet is one of the magical World War II people, not magical, improbable, impossible, that are still with us and have all these incredible tales to tell. And your war, at least part of the World War II part of it, probably to me, and I think to all of humanity, is the liberating of the concentration camps, that you got to participate in. So we'll for sure get into that. But just from all of us in humanity, thank you for what you've done. It's remarkable.
I don't know. Me and 50 million others,
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you all play your own small part in something that, and a lot, like we were talking about the Battle of the Bulge, that barely goes our way. 2 or 3 things don't break our way, and that's a different fight, different outcome.
Biggest battle of the Americans have ever been in.
Yeah. And how close did we come to losing that fight? Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from the Break It Down show, checking in real quick to ask you this. John, Scott, and I all support Save the Brave with our time, our location, our effort, and our money. Each month we give a small amount. Do the same with us. Go to SaveTheBrave.org, click on the Donate tab, pick an amount that you want to come out each month, and they will handle all the rest. I stand behind these folks. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show. And how close did we come to losing that fight?
Very close.
Right.
Very close.
Yeah.
It was so damn cold.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Now, I don't know. Did you have cold in Afghanistan or not?
Oh, yeah.
Or hot?
Well, yes, both.
Both.
But I had the coldest I ever have been was in Afghanistan, for sure. I lived on Hoth.
Well, we were well below zero.
Yeah.
For quite a while in the Bulge.
Yeah. And then you're outside the whole time, or were they able to pull you back and warm you up anywhere?
I guess once or twice you got a little warmer. See, you couldn't dig.
Okay.
The frost line was 5 feet deep.
Right.
There was no such thing as it was. There were foxholes. If you you'd throw a grenade or something, and
Right.
you might be able to dig a little. But we're moving too much. We found some German holes that we used.
Yeah.
But I have never been so cold for so long
Yeah.
in my life.
How did you take that? I mean, look, you're from Wisconsin, so you've got some cold stuff built into you. But
Well, we didn't have the kind of footwear we should have had.
Right.
We had, I don't know what it was you call it. It was a shoe that came up around here and you flipped it over.
Around your calf, yeah.
But
Okay.
It was like a shoe boot.
Uh-huh.
But, when it went down to 20 or 30 below zero
Yeah.
for days, you just didn't stay warm.
So surviving in that environment, you guys have to do all of the things you have to do. You have to eat, you have to make waste, you have all these things, but you're also moving. Did you have warm food at all during the battle?
I'm trying to think. Not very often.
Right.
Not very often. Most of it was K rations or,
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Tell the audience what K rations are.
A bunch of crap. Well, everything was just concentrated food, I guess. I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something to eat, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And sea rations. Did you ever have seas?
I've had C rations, and you didn't want them. K rations are worse. That was the point I'm getting at, is you guys are living as hard as a human can, and then being fed K rations.
Yeah, even Christmas, we didn't get anything, It was crappy food all the time.
Right.
All the time. They were supposed to be flying turkeys, and we got all this stuff they were going to do for Christmas. I think I had a cold turkey dinner or something. We were on the move all the time.
Yeah.
With an armored division, you didn't sit, which was good. I didn't want to sit in one spot all the time. On the other hand, at times in the Bulge, I'd be on guard one time for 24 hours without moving.
Yeah.
In zero weather, and my feet, I found an old box to get my feet up because there was ice below them. And I sat in that damn hole, it was a German hole.
Right.
And I sat in that hole. Luckily, I had a buddy because I was a machine gunner. So I had my assistant gunner.
Sure.
And he's in some of these pictures here. But all I can think of was cold. I had one shower in the middle of a field in sub-zero weather. And they put a thing like a tent open on top.
Yeah.
They just wrapped tent material. Guy would be up on a step ladder with a big thing, and he said, "Okay, you ready?" And boom, so you got that. Okay, soap up, and 30 seconds later, okay, you all ready? Here comes another warm water on you, and then you got out of this tent, and the wind was blowing and everything, and it was 20 below zero.
Yeah.
And you're trying to dry yourself off. Oh my God.
Yeah. Better not to have the shower.
We had tremendous number of frostbite.
Yeah.
People that just, they're freezing their feet, freezing their fingers. You never saw them again.
What unit were you in?
11th Armored Division.
11th Armored Division.
Yeah.
And when did you join them?
I joined them not in the States. We went to England first, and I guess that's where we must have joined them. But we spent 3 months in England.
Okay.
We had no equipment. They took all our equipment away. And we thought, what's going on now? Why aren't we going on? You heard of the Falaise Gap?
Yes.
I guess there's so many people died in that thing.
Yeah.
And so much material was shot.
Right.
They took all our tanks. They took all our trucks. Took all our peeps,
Yeah.
all the equipment, all of our artillery. We actually had nothing. I didn't even have a rifle in England for 3 months. We sat there. I didn't mind it because I got to London every weekend on a pass.
Yeah.
The rest of it, we sat in a Quonset hut gambling.
Right.
You know, it's on
Playing
some
cards.
Earl's estate. They
Yeah.
put it was about 100 miles north of London. I wasn't mad about it because I got to go to London every
Sure.
weekend.
Yeah.
I just get on the train. I'm kind of a history buff, so I knew what I wanted to see.
Sure.
And I wasn't going to play cards or shoot craps all day.
Yeah.
But I went almost every weekend. In fact, I even bought a bike. Each two of us would buy one bike. We were gonna bike in London because you had these train cars for bikes.
Right.
Put them on and get there. I got to London and I said, well, okay, here's what we want first. Where is that? Well, that's 15 miles over this way, see? Okay, where's the other one? Well, that's 20 miles over that way.
Yeah.
London is probably the biggest city in
Yeah.
area in the world. Not up,
Yeah. Why?
spread out.
Yeah.
Well, I never took a bike back to London. I wasn't going to spend all my time, pedaling.
Paddling.
Because they had the underground there.
Yeah.
So I could get from one place to another.
So when you know history, you don't want to shoot dice and play cards. What did you want to see in London when you were there? And what impressed you that you maybe were surprised about?
Everything. I mean, changing of the guard,
Yeah.
Madame Tussauds, waxwork, old castles.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just a kind of a history buff, so
Right.
I knew about all the places I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Or I read about them, but of course never been there.
So did you land at Normandy then at D-Day?
Let's see. Yes, we landed at the same place where the invasion. We landed after the invasion.
Okay.
What's the name of the town?
Normandy
No.
or where? I don't know.
A little town there.
Let's
we
not worry
landed
about
the
it.
same place.
Same place, same part. But you didn't go with the initial wave. You were like D-Day +2 or something like that they pushed you guys through.
That was D-Day plus 3 months.
Oh, okay. So
At
D-Day
least.
60 or something.
I
Yeah.
didn't get over there till December.
Oh, okay.
D-Day was what? May, June?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
hmm
We were in London all that time. That we thought we couldn't understand why we didn't go over. It was they didn't have the equipment.
Yeah, yeah,
They had shot up so much of our armor
right.
that we had nothing left. I guess the lieutenant had a peep to run around in, but we had no tanks.
Yeah,
I was on a half track during the war, no half tracks.
right.
I wasn't bitching. I wasn't that.
Sure.
When I knew what was happening over at the Filet and around there, and no.
So am I right in thinking then that December you come across the channel and you catch up at the unit and basically you catch up at the Battle of the Bulge?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're like, welcome. We have no food. We have
Well, here's what happened. We got there, being an armored division, we were going to crack the German fort and German emplacements along the channel.
Okay.
They were servicing all their submarines.
Mm-hmm.
Our infantry divisions could not crack those. So they said, okay, we're going to use an armored division. And I forgot the names of the towns where all the Germans were. Even after the front had moved,
Right.
there were still thousands of Germans along the channel
Right.
and other places. That's what we thought we were going to do. And then one day, it was a couple of weeks after we hit the beach, there's some trouble over in Belgium. Oh, what's that? You know,
Yeah.
we ran, it took us 3 days and 3 nights to get from the coast to Belgium with everything. Now we were, of course, re-outfitted. We had
Right.
all the equipment. And we moved night and day, but you can only go as fast as the slowest vehicle,
Sure.
obviously. So it was one long, cold ride. We got into the Bulge at about midnight.
On that ride,
Yeah.
were you sitting in the back of a truck? Where were you sitting?
The rear end of a half track. I was a rear machine gunner
Okay.
with a post mount.
Yeah, okay.
And we had a front mount, we had a 50.
Right.
I had a World War I tube, what do you call the old type tube
Uh-huh.
with water.
Yeah.
Never put water in it. It would have frozen
Yeah. It
solid.
was too cold for water.
So
yeah.
I had to learn to shoot fast burps
Uh-huh.
because the barrel was only as big as a rifle barrel in
Right.
the machine gun.
Yeah.
And that thing could, if you held that,
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
shoot maybe 30 rounds, it'd freeze up.
Yeah.
So all the shooting I did was burp, burp, burp.
Yeah.
Most of which was not at German troops, although we did shoot up a number of German troops, but an awful lot of shooting at airplanes.
Okay.
Messerschmitts, if we were moving in column, those Me-109s would come over,
Right.
and they're flying fools. They flew between the trees.
Wow.
Those guys they come over me. They were no more than 15 feet above my head.
Good grief. That is low.
And
Yeah.
I get maybe a 1 or 2 second burst. So I had to learn to watch
Yeah.
the tracers from our guys back. And we knew they were coming. We could hear the machine guns at 2, 3, 4 miles away,
Right.
and we could see tracers even in the day.
Yeah.
And I watched the tracers. When the tracers started coming back, I started shooting
Yeah.
because that's when I was getting my 2 seconds in.
Yeah.
And it worked that way because they had to fly through my.
Yeah.
And I knew if I was hitting them because the tracers would jump off, and they didn't go penetrate, but they would bounce off the German planes.
Right.
Then I knew I used armor piercing.
Mm-hmm.
I loaded all my own belts.
Okay. Okay.
So I had a lot of practice shooting in planes. And the Germans, once in a while, our column would shoot them down that way.
Yeah.
I know I hit coming on those planes, but I never knew if I hit one in a vital spot because they're gone,
Yeah.
They're coming at 300 miles an hour,
Yeah.
15 feet above you.
And you're what? You're 10 feet off. Your head is 10 feet off the ground in the back of that half track. So that plane's 25 feet off the ground, going 300 miles an hour.
About, yeah.
So those guys must, and they didn't fly.
Understanding, we never sat on the seats of a half track.
Sure.
We sat on the edges.
Right.
And the edge was about this wide. Your feet were on the seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then all your belongings were down where
below.
your feet would normally be. And I kept a couple extra machine guns down there. We would raid things, I had maybe 3 machine guns back there.
Yeah.
They weren't ready, but in case something happened to mine, I had another one there.
Right.
We usually carried at least 100 or some 200 pounds of TNT. And so if we'd ever been hit, there would have been a big hole in the road.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah. And when you guys are on this movement to catch up to the unit, you're going through 3 days, 3 nights. I'm familiar with all this. It is mind-numbingly boring, to sitting there and driving 10 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour, because that's about as fast as we could go. I don't know about you guys, but
well, we could go only as fast as the slowest vehicle.
right. And how fast was that? That vehicle's broken usually, and
It was an awful lot of stop and go.
yeah.
And of course, you had to keep your intervals. We were always 100 feet from the interview for the next vehicle in front of us and 100 feet from the one behind us.
Right.
So that, not too many would get wiped out. Maybe one would. I didn't like the fact that we had all that TNT in because there would have just been a hole in the road if that ever went off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what we did.
Yeah.
And Germans were flying fools.
Yeah.
Once in a while, we get them. My buddy and my squad, we got one plane, and we were in a big U-turn that went for a couple miles like that,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a lot of open spaces. And this guy flew right into that. He evidently didn't realize how many guns were going to be on him. I'll bet there were 20 or 30 machine guns on him.
Did you guys worry about friendly fire by shooting, like following your tracers, or was it?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
I mean, we had artillery going over our heads all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we welcomed that,
Sure.
Things that could help us.
Yeah.
But if you had a short round, and it could be bad.
Yeah. Did you guys wear hearing protection at all? No. Yeah. I don't know how any of you guys can hear. It's so bad.
The only thing I did wear, and I'll show you, and of course we had to keep our steel helmets on.
Right.
But I found this, and it worked. I could get my steel helmet. That's a German Army issue.
So he's pulling out it's a rabbit fur? Or
Yeah,
what
well, I
kind
think it is.
Yeah, rabbit
well,
fur.
Feel it. It's fur.
Yeah.
I think it was rabbit's fur, and of course, this is the Wehrmacht colors.
Right.
But if I wore it like this, I could jam my helmet
over the top of it.
I would not have survived that winter without this.
Yeah.
I found this somewhere in the Bulge.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we weren't captured because it's got the German emblem and everything.
I saw that. Yeah.
Captured
Can I
with,
see it again?
German stuff on.
Yeah. It looks like LeBeau's hat from Hogan's Heroes, if you remember that, but with
It's
rabbit fur.
getting kind of smelly.
It's getting kind of smelly. You've got a German emblem with the eagle on it and everything. And so this kept your head warm, which is
my ears too.
Yeah, your ears too. Yeah.
Because the metal helmet didn't really cover your ears.
And in that helmet, is it just straps?
No, we never could use the straps.
Oh, okay.
You had an inner helmet
Okay.
and an outer one. The inner helmet used the chin strap, went over the lip of this way, and then the other strap went over that way.
Yeah.
So you had to get these two helmets strapped together. So, but you didn't wear them because if there's a big explosion near you, it could break your neck if you had a chin strap.
Right.
We never wore them. Just wore it, but it stayed on.
You found this along the road or whatever, like at a stop or something like that, and just
houses. We were looters.
Yeah, you gotta be. Yeah.
And if there was ever a house, we all ran in to see what they got, what goodies.
Yeah.
I got a German rifle here, and I got shotguns from castles. We took, when there was anything, it was first come, first served. And I've got a whole German uniform.
Wow. And
so I've used that. In fact, I tried to go to a military ball in University of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
After the war, we thought, well, we could wear our Army uniform, but one guy had an 1812 uniform. He put that on, and he got into mill ball. But I had a German uniform, and I got as far as the door.
No, they said no thanks.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, okay, you move for 36 hours. You catch up at the Battle of the Bulge, and then what's your in brief? And they're like, "All right, glad that you guys are here. Head over that way," or when did you know the situation you were getting into, and how dire it was?
I guess it was just because of what we did. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to spend almost every night trying to get teller mines on.
Mm-hmm.
As engineers, that was our job.
Right.
So if the tanks were going to use such and such a road, 2 a.m, we go there, one squad at a time, and we were not allowed to blow the mines. We had to take them off.
Wow.
And we could hear that German truck 2 blocks ahead of us throwing these out and let the snow.
Yeah.
But that's what we did, a lot of taking out mines. It was just a scary job.
Yeah.
We'd hear the German patrols going by us. Sometimes they'd be talking. They might have been 50 feet away. We didn't move,
Right.
And no talking.
Right.
Or you'd whisper to somebody, and we had intervals of 15 feet usually, hoping they didn't find. All we had were rifles with us.
And you guys are you're on foot on your own.
With rifles.
With rifles.
No mounted machine guns, nothing.
Right.
But we would have to take, let's say, a mile or two at crack, and then they'd have other engineers do the other. Did an awful lot of that. You couldn't bury them. I mean, everything, the ice was so thick and the frost line so deep. There was no digging.
Yeah.
They just put them, it was snowing half the time.
Right.
So these are German teller mining, you've probably seen those.
Yeah.
They're about this big and that thick.
Yeah. Like a big pizza.
So they all had handles, and we'd find them. Only thing we did, we'd gradually get under them. We want to make sure there's not attached to a second mine. Germans did that.
Right.
There was a well in the bottom that they could put a firing device in. So if there was no firing device, we would very gingerly pull those things off. And we weren't allowed to blow them because supposedly the Germans didn't know where we were.
Right.
Well, we knew where the Germans were. I think they knew where we were.
Pretty good idea, right? And then I know that job is dangerous and scary, but did the mines go off at times, or were you guys? So you guys were pretty fortunate with that.
We were fortunate.
Yeah.
There were some guys that we got blown up
yeah.
with them. Yeah. Supposedly you could stand on a teller mine. I wasn't going to try it. They told us, your weight isn't enough to do it.
Yeah.
And that's probably true.
Let's not test it.
This is made for a tank going over, or a truck, or
Yeah.
Something heavy. But I wasn't going to test them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, Battle of the Bulge, terrifying, and you guys finally are able to break through. What happened? Where'd you guys go next? What happened?
Well, let's see. The Bulge lasted, I think it was 5 weeks, roughly.
But how much sleep did you get on a day during the Battle of the Bulge?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, you slept for 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there.
Okay.
If you were lucky enough,
Right. And just curl up on the ground, right? Like you weren't in a cot or anything.
On the ground, you couldn't dig, so we would look for brush or something like that.
Yeah.
And so there's my old sleeping bag. Not the Army issue. I bought this at a PX.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw what the Army issued you.
Yeah.
You went into it. You've seen Egyptian mummies.
Yeah, yeah.
You went into it. You laced it from inside. Can you imagine trying to get out of that thing?
No.
We'd throw ours away. We never took them overseas. So I bought this. It didn't give much help. I could get an Army blanket, a thin one, in it. And then I had to sleep with my rifle inside
Yeah.
and my boots inside because they would freeze up.
Yeah.
So you were just jammed in this thing.
Yeah.
And all it's cold. Cold.
Yeah. I know when I slept in those cold environments, all of my clothes would go up towards where my face hole would be. And I curled up like a cat inside just so that my own bad breath would heat me up.
And what were you in?
This just like a regular Army sleeping bag, but it's kind of a mummy sack, but a little more spacious.
You probably had better ones.
Oh, for sure.
That they gave us at first, we wouldn't go in.
The new one has, when I was in, the newest one was a thin summer and then a fatter second bag.
Did you have a zipper?
Yeah. No
we
more
had
laces.
Zippers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. They also had snaps, so you could snap it up if you wanted. That was the fast.
Ours, in 20 minutes, you could get out of it.
Yeah.
No way. I never slept in it.
There are 3 parts to the bag that I used. So there was the summer bag, the winter bag that would go around that, and then there was an outer waterproof layer.
Oh, my. That's all I had, and I bought it at the PX.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we did. Of course, the first thing we do is look for evergreens.
Yeah.
And we used our bayonet. That was
Okay.
the only way we used the bayonet was slashing every night. Get as many pine branches as you could under you, because you got to get the cold out
Get
from
off
under.
the ground. Yeah.
That frost line was so deep.
Yeah.
It's just sleeping on ice,
Yeah. So you would get little cat naps though for the most part.
And you took your boots off, but you left them in there because if you left them outside,
Froze.
you'd never get them on in the morning. They'd be frozen so stiff.
Right.
There wasn't much room after you get your Army boots
Yeah.
in there and your rifle.
Yeah. Right.
I was afraid. We were all afraid the moving parts would freeze.
Yeah.
I mean, that oil could freeze,
For sure.
I thought, I don't want my rifle to freeze up.
Yeah.
I might need it.
You would need it. Yeah. As soon as you. And then how often did you have to change socks? Because I know, as long as I kept changing my socks, my feet stayed pretty good.
Well, we changed it, but not often enough.
Okay.
I didn't have enough socks. Never had clean ones, but dirty ones.
Sure.
On,
Rotate them. Yeah.
I slept with the boots on in that. But on the other hand, we didn't want any more, because if we were overrun by the Germans, I didn't want to be running naked through the fields when it's 20 below zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I might have had to run in bare feet. I hoped I didn't, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I've never been so cold, and I mean, I'm used to cold.
Yeah. You're from
I used
Wisconsin.
to skate to school in Wisconsin.
Right.
The roads were never all plowed, and we had ice all the time. So I was used to skating and all that. But to try and operate, and then it got, in one place it got to 40 below.
Jesus.
Most of ours was 20 below.
Yeah.
But all
that's-
I remember is cold, cold, cold.
Yeah.
And your fingers, you know what they gave us? I don't know if you ever saw the original Army mitts.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they were like.
Yeah.
You could get one finger, it was big, heavy, you know.
Yeah.
These two fingers would go on this one, and then your thumb.
He's showing like a 3-fingered glove, and the pinky sticks out and the thumb sticks out, and then you have the other 3 together.
I could not get this through the trigger housing of my rifle.
Yeah.
So what I did is this hand was out in the cold all the time.
Right.
Because I'm right-handed. And the other one, I did have my big mitt on.
Yeah.
We had to massage our hands, massage our feet all the time.
Yeah.
It was, they called trench foot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was like frozen feet or what, but a lot of guys went to the hospital fast.
Yeah.
They froze their feet. It was miserable.
It sounds miserable.
Just miserable conditions. I mean, finally, you know, it changed, but for December and January and February,
Hard living.
good Lord,
Yeah.
our Army wasn't set up to be in the Battle of the Bulge,
Right.
as far as clothing.
So, okay, Battle of the Bulge happens. You guys say nuts, you're not going to give up. You keep fighting, and then you ultimately win the Battle of the Bulge, and that's in January. Is that right?
End of January.
End of January.
Yeah, it started in December 16th, and it was the last week of January. We finally got him on the run and kicked him out of there. But I never want to be that cold again. It was just, guys sent to the hospital, you never saw him again. Frozen feet, frozen fingers, frozen hands. You kept massaging them every night. Well, they made you do it too. You had to take your boots off and massage your feet.
Yeah.
Get the circulation going.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever being warm.
Right.
I remember being not quite as cold
Yeah.
if I had enough junk in there. And then we would put pine boughs over us sometimes.
Yeah. So when I was in Afghanistan, I was on a very cold camp, and there was ice everywhere, right? But we stayed on a camp. So when it would snow, we'd all walk on the snow and pack it into ice. And so what would happen is it was like an ocean almost. So there was no flat surface. And so you'd walk, and then the longest winter, the Battle of the Bulge. Yes.
Snow and ice.
Snow and ice. We fell down all the time. This is what I'm getting at. Like, you'd walk slowly and carefully, but the ice was such that you would just slip, bam, and fall all the time. Did you guys have a lot of that where you were just constantly slipping on the ice?
Usually you're wading through snow.
Snow. Okay, so you still had snow.
And
okay.
the ice down below.
Yeah.
Sure, we fell, I'm sure. But what you had to do is keep moving.
Yeah.
Or your circulation. We got on a Siegfried line, and we were so short-handed. We just, no Army plans for something like the Battle of the Bulge.
Right.
So everybody was on the guard all the time.
Yeah.
You never got to sleep. Now, at least I had a buddy.
Yeah.
My assistant gunner sat and froze next to me.
Yeah.
So I had somebody to talk to.
Right.
But one night, they put us on the perimeter. Well, they gave us too many yards for one platoon to handle.
Yeah.
We weren't anywhere close to our next guys.
Hmm.
And Sergeant says, look, sorry, I'll get back to you when I can. That was 3:30 or something in the afternoon. We weren't relieved until 4 the next morning or something like that.
It's a long time.
So you sat there. I had an old box or something. It was a German thing. Luckily, I didn't have to carve it. But my feet were up on that wooden box, and you didn't move for 24 hours.
Right. Yeah. I know you're on guard, so you're alert, but how scared, how tense are you when you're on guard in that situation?
Well, you're always tense up there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Germans were darn good fighters.
Right.
And they would attack at night as well as during the day, and we did too. But you never knew if they were crawling up. At night, the first thing you did was make sure you knew where each tree was.
Mm-hmm.
Because later on, that tree was a moving thing. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Did you take out your iPhone and take a picture of the tree line? That's just a joke. So
Yeah.
you and your assistant gunner are there. You know your fields of fire. You've memorized the trees and all that kind of thing. What are you guys talking about? How do you pass the time?
Food, girls,
Girls, yes.
family.
Yeah.
You exhausted every subject you could
Right.
because you're trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
When you don't have anybody relieving you, you're scared, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know where the next guys were. We knew they were somewhere within 100 feet probably.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear them or anything.
Right.
And guys were, you know, the Germans were devils. They'd sneak up with grenades or something. And I'll tell you, I know those trees were moving.
Yeah.
You see something, I said, is that moving, you know?
Yeah. So Battle of the Bulge ends. You guys are going towards the end of the war, but how many more big fights did you get in? Because it doesn't take that
Well,
long.
They were all night fights
Uh-huh.
and all at no more than platoon strength and most of the time squads.
Right.
It'd be quick and over with, you know.
Yeah.
You did a lot of praying.
Yeah.
You exhausted. At least I had a guy to talk to.
Right.
Some of the poor guys were sitting by themselves for 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you go batty.
Yeah.
And everything, you swear it's moving after a while.
Sure.
You look and, you know, was that a tree? No. That looks like somebody just sneaking up on you. You couldn't sleep.
And I know for me, if I'm awake for, say, 25 hours, I start to hallucinate. And I don't know that I'm hallucinating right away. And then I go, okay, anything I think I see. And when I say hallucinate, I've seen someone walk in front of me. I waved at them and they waved back. And then my friend's like, what are you doing? Who are you waving at? And I'm like, no, a guy didn't just walk by. Yeah. So it's fully, you don't know you're hallucinating at first.
You swear a tree or a bush was moving.
Yeah.
I said, did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, sure, we had a machine gun, but we weren't supposed to fire, if you can imagine, because that would give away what we were doing or where we were. That was the most miserable time in my army was that Battle of the Bulge. Just miserable.
Yeah.
There were no saving features. You were always cold. You were always hungry. You didn't have hot food.
Right.
You mean try and eat, you know, some of the food was so tough it was frozen. Your water bottle would freeze up.
Yeah.
It was just absolute misery. Everybody just hated every minute of it.
After the battle and you're on the road, you have these small skirmishes. How often are you getting warm chow during that time? Are you ever getting warm rations at all?
Well, you didn't do much travel.
Mm-hmm.
If you did, it was usually during the day.
Okay.
When you could see. And you knew what was going on. We had the Tactical Air Force helping to us, you know.
Yeah.
If German planes were coming, our guys could get some planes pretty soon.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of the night, but during the day. Once we were moving, it didn't bother me too much. We were always cold. Everybody was cold.
Yeah.
I didn't even have long johns. My mother sent me some long johns. And I wore them so long, and it rubbed on the calf of my legs. So I had big sores that went right through the underwear. Yeah. And the scab would be on the outside of that damn underwear.
Wow.
Because it's rubbing on you.
Yeah.
And I'd have that on. Well, as I say, I had one shower in the Battle of the Bulge. The next time I had a bath was in a house alongside the Rhine River.
Yeah.
And that's all for the whole damn war. We were dirty.
Yeah.
Our faces were just black.
Yeah.
But, we were all in the same boat.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
were all complaining, but what can you do? Huh?
I lived on the side of a mountain in Afghanistan for a while with like a big platoon,
Yeah.
like a heavy platoon. And water was rationed because we were running off of a well, and, just there wasn't enough water.
Yeah.
And so you didn't bathe very often. But the moment you did, you could smell how bad everybody else smelled. And so you're like, I'm just not going to shower because it just didn't, because you're all in it together.
I didn't have a shower. We got into the Bulge in December.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a shower except what they gave us in the snow
Yeah.
and ice until we found a bath on the Rhine River. Now, we were a long way from the Rhine River.
Sure.
It took us a couple of months just to get to the Rhine River. And we were lucked out. We found a house that had running water, which was unbelievable.
Right.
And so I don't know how we kept getting it, but it ran.
Could you pick out that house today if you saw it, do you think?
Would I know it?
Yeah.
It was a little old house right next to the river.
Yeah.
We couldn't cross because we only had so many bridges across.
Okay.
Germans blew all the regular
Sure.
bridges, so we had floating bridges. But when you get 10,000 men that want to cross at one point,
Yeah.
it takes a long time with all their equipment.
Yeah.
So we were there for at least 2 or 3 days before our division got the okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think that bathtub was ever empty.
Yeah.
Oh,
Two at
the
a
water
time
would
in
be
it, too.
black.
Yeah.
Luckily, we could get new water. We had a fire going. I mean, we had to keep the water hot.
Yeah.
We had a fire going on the system. There's a heater, a water heater.
Yeah.
But it was like heaven.
Were any of the businesses opened as you guys moved?
Yeah, we went.
Like the businesses, like the bakeries and the butcher shops, were any of those things open at all, or was all closed down?
Every time we went through, everything is buttoned up. You know, the civilians were hiding in the basements.
Yeah.
And they took it on the chin too, because
Sure.
an awful lot of their houses were destroyed all right over them.
Yeah. And their bathtub ruined.
But there were just no stores.
When did it start to occur to you that the Germans were exterminating Jews?
Well, I guess we got the Stars and Stripes maybe once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And you read a little about it in that.
Yeah.
No other papers except the Army paper. You heard stuff, you weren't sure if it was true.
Right.
And
what you heard, was it impossible to even believe? Like, okay, yeah, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but like, was what you were reading, was it horrific?
it was one of those gradual until you didn't believe everything in the beginning.
Yeah.
But we came across a lot of slain civilians. We didn't kill them.
Yeah.
Why were they dead?
Yeah.
Women, children, men, weren't many men. They were all in the German army.
Right.
But families, they were either bombed out or machine gunned or something. I think the German, now remember, these were different countries, so
Yeah.
the Germans were killing civilians. I'm sure we must have killed some.
Yeah.
Our artillery certainly killed some.
Sure.
People, they had stone houses in Belgium. Some of them were 500-600 years old. The same families
Yeah.
had those houses for 500 or 600. They were made of stone, which was great until artillery shot at them.
Yeah.
Anything else that could burn, they'd burn. The barns burned. Dead animals, dead horses everywhere.
Yeah.
We never saw civilians to any extent,
Mm-hmm.
except if we hid in their basements once in a while, we'd
Yeah.
see that family. I think the civilians, the men were gone. They were dragooned into the German army, whether
Sure.
they were German or not.
Yeah.
What about the Holocaustopia? Was the first time you learned about it really when you were at Mauthausen, or did you have some?
I
some
think it
sense
was a slow thing. You read about it. Some things you said, oh, it couldn't be that bad, you know.
Right.
You didn't see it right away. Occasionally you would see dead civilians, but we killed a lot of the civilians with our artillery.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't place, because we saw dead, civilians, but what were they selling? Were they killed by shells fire or a machine gun? I don't know.
Right.
Could have been killed by ours.
Yeah.
Some of our guys, remember one place on the side of a barn, there were guys, maybe 10 guys, boom, 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 boom. They weren't just killed there haphazardly.
Yeah.
They were lined up and they were machine gunned by the Germans.
Right.
We knew that. You heard horror stories. You didn't know if you could believe all of them. We heard about concentration camp, heard about those before we even left the States.
Right.
But you didn't realize to what extent it was and how bad it was.
When you guys got to Mauthausen area and you were going to liberate those, the people that were in the concentration camp, did you know that was going to happen, or did you just kind of drive up on it?
No, we knew. Now, Mauthausen was a long, long way from where we were in Belgium.
Yeah.
Mauthausen was down in Austria.
Right.
400 or 500 miles away.
To the south, yeah.
We got there eventually, but...
why were you guys headed that way? Was that just your division's task?
Well, whatever the front was, that's the way you went.
Okay.
We thought we were going to Berlin until we turned right instead of left.
Right.
We're not going to Berlin. We're going down into Austria, which was called Ostmark by the Germans. We'd capture prisoners and they'd say, "Where are you from?" They said, "Ostmark." I said, "Österreich."
Yeah.
They were still calling it Ostmark, which was the eastern province of Germany.
Yeah.
That's what it meant.
Ostmark, yeah.
And the Österreich meant the Kingdom of Austria.
Right.
Germany wouldn't have that. They are now like a state in Germany, all of Austria. So we captured a lot of Austrians who were in the German army. We captured a lot of Poles who were in the German army.
Right.
We captured just about from every little country.
Yeah.
But they were serving Germany, not by choice, but they were dragooned into it.
Right. So talk to me about the concentration camp then. Tell me about that day.
Well, I was a long way away.
Sure.
We started seeing dead people that we knew it was different. It wasn't dead soldiers. It was dead civilians. And an awful lot of them. We thought, no, they couldn't all have been killed, especially when they saw them in a line.
Yeah.
They weren't just killed by artillery. So we gradually knew that the Germans were executing the people in other countries.
Right.
There were dead everybody from countries all over the world. And we read a lot. I mean, the army was feeding us up. We didn't know how much was true or not.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of stuff that wasn't true either being fed to us. But it was a gradual thing. We had hoisted a shortwave radio from our signal corps. We stole it and put it in our half track. We could get BBC in London on it. So we wanted it for the music.
Yeah.
Glenn Miller and all the rest.
Right.
Glenn Miller was killed, of course, but his drummer became head of his orchestra.
Right.
And he followed us all the way across Europe. And so we're listening to swing music on our half track and all that kind of stuff.
But what about when you approached Mauthausen? What was different about that as you were entering Mauthausen?
Well, 30 miles before we got to Mauthausen, we started seeing striped people in the ditch, dead. We'd go over and look at him and we'd think, God almighty, this is a concentration camp prisoner. He had a shot in the back of his head.
Yeah.
They were marching these guys from Poland all the way down to Austria, over 400 miles.
Yeah.
Well, these guys died from freezing. They died from malnutrition, from everything you can imagine. Or they died just because the Germans shot them.
Right.
So we knew we were getting into a bad situation. And we read about, the Army published stuff. But I'll tell you this, until you got to it and saw it and smelled it, it was a different story. I mean, after all, there were a lot of dead soldiers everywhere. We saw dead Americans everywhere and dead German soldiers everywhere. It got to be that, you sit next to them and eat your lunch. During Graves registration did not find all the dead.
Right.
In fact, we'd see them at night because as engineers, we had to do a lot of night work. And these guys were taking the dead Americans, by feet and the neck, 1, 2, 3, throwing them up on the top of a big truck.
Yeah.
And we said, you do that again, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that to American soldiers.
Right.
I'm sure as soon as we left, they did it again. But we almost shot some of our own soldiers because they were on Graves registration. And we, if I'm killed, I don't want to be handled the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
So all of these things you learn gradually. Now, we started the active war in December, but the war wasn't over till May. So, there was a lot of war in between. Most of our war was against armored troops, tanks. Hopefully we had our tanks there to help protect us, or artillery. I remember one time we were building a bridge on Little River, and for some reason I had to go across this river. There was a broken bridge there. You could walk on it, but you couldn't drive it. So we were going to put a Bailey bridge, I think it was. You know what a Bailey is?
Yeah.
Big, heavy bridge. Take 20 guys to haul the members together. It was, most of our bridges were little treadways.
Yeah.
For a 15-foot bridge or something like that. So for some reason, I went over on the broken old bridge, and I was over there by myself. Maybe 500 yards away, a Tiger tank came over a hill.
Oh.
And it looked to me as big as a house. Their Tigers were up in the 80,000 tons. Just huge. Our little old Sherman's 3,200.
Yeah.
And finally, some of the bigger ones, we started getting they named it after our general, it was a T-45 or something, which looked to us really huge. Then you saw a Tiger. Their tracks were this wide.
That's like 3
Ours
feet
were
wide.
maybe this wide.
18 inches wide. Yeah.
And these things when I saw this thing on the move, they weren't going to waste cannon on me.
Yeah, right.
But when you're alone and you see this damn thing coming over a hill, I got back across that damn old bridge fast as I could.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were going to do. We got into, a lot of middle of tank battles because we fought with the tanks.
Right.
And we had to act not as engineers, but as infantry a lot of
Dismounted
times.
infantry, sure.
And we were very short-handed
in
some cases.
Yeah.
Very, very. So when you're on foot, any tank looks great big if it's not yours.
Yeah.
I don't care what tank it is.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself and the rest of your buddies on the other side of a creek and something comes over a hill 500 yards away, you take off if you're on foot.
You guys liberate the camp, the concentration camp. Talk to me about that experience. What did you see? What did you feel?
Hey, this is P.A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
You guys liberate the camp, the concentration camp. Talk to me about that experience. What did you see? What did you feel?
We got there. We knew by this time there must have been camps. We had seen a lot of dead prisoners and striped. Those were the last 20, 30 miles. And we knew that we've read about camps and things. And we said, holy mackerel, this is worse than we thought. We got down to Linz. And that was Hitler's favorite city. After the war, he was going to move government down there. Linz was now part of Germany.
Right.
and he was going to have his government buildings and all that. We saw so many dead people in these uniforms. We knew what the uniforms were, the striped uniforms. And we'd go and look at them in the ditches, you know, first by the dozens and then by the hundreds and finally by almost the thousands. These were people, they moved from Poland.
Yeah.
Those guys walked from Poland all the way down 450 miles.
Yeah.
And to that area. And maybe half of them died on the way or were killed.
Mm-hmm.
If they couldn't keep up, they machine
Shot
gunned them.
Yeah.
So we saw an awful lot of dead with striped uniforms on. Then I had never heard of Mauthausen till we got down there. Some guys said, "Hey, there's a big camp here." Some guys had been over there. And so we found out about it. And so the next day, I was able to get into Mauthausen. I can't describe it. I have never seen so many dead people in one place.
Right.
Some of them stacked up like that. Others in railroad cars with the doors open. You'd see the dead bodies in there. I don't know what they were doing with them. I mean, first it was bodies by the hundreds.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the bodies by the thousands.
Yeah.
And the smell in the whole area was just terrible. Some of these guys have been dead for probably a month. Mm. So Eisenhower sent word, you know, everybody and our general to Patton, every guy, we want him to see this, want him to get into Mauthausen, you got to see it. We've taken it. The guards were either killed or they were now run off. So I went in the day right after Liberation, and I was interested to see it. I wanted, you know, what was it like? Now, this was different than a lot of them because, as I say, the others were temporary type buildings, wooden buildings. Mauthausen was stone because the stone came right out of the quarry there. Sure. And it was building stone. So you had walls like this. It was like seeing a federal prison.
Yeah.
I just went on my own. I mean, after a while, we were just loose to do what we wanted. So the day after Liberation, I said, well, I want to see that. So we took our half-track over and just went in individually. All the prisoners were still there. Some were alive. A good share were dead.
Yeah.
And then we started hearing the stories. And they had English-speaking prisoners that could talk to us. And I had a guy that was I think he was with a newspaper, and I think a Czech newspaper. He could speak English as good as I could. Mm-hmm. And he took us around. I was with 5 other guys. We wanted to see it. They had a gas chamber. We were in the gas chamber. They had a, whatever you call it, where they dissect the guys. Mm-hmm. They would knock all the golden teeth out of them before they would burn them.
Right.
And the bodies, you know, there were so many dead bodies, they couldn't dispose of them. I'm talking 10,000 dead bodies in there. We were shocked. We'd seen a lot of dead people during the war, but not that many that had just been machine gunned or whatever by the hundreds.
Yeah.
And the smell, some of those guys have been dead for a month, I'm sure. I wanted to go into Mauthausen and see it first, but there was a guy, there was a barbed wire fenced open area outside, and I was by myself. I just went over, I said, well, I'm going to see it. And there was a guy standing there, stark naked. And he was about 100, 200 feet from me. So I said, I'm going to talk to this guy. I want to find out what's going on. He was a fairly tall guy, didn't have any clothing on. And I walked up to him. You know, his eyes were open. I was going to talk to him. and I knew he couldn't see me.
Hmm.
He was just a blank stare, and yet he was standing, stark naked. His knees were like this. Down here was like this.
Yeah.
His hips were huge. I could have put my fingers around his waist.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a dead man that was still alive. It was just a horrendous thing.
But what are the whole experience from Battle of the Bulge to the Holocaust concentration camps? What did you pull out of that? Like going forward for the rest of your life? I mean, you've been around and seen a lot of things now.
The whole thing was more horrible, the Holocaust, than I thought.
Okay.
I mean, we heard a lot about the Holocaust, and you learn to believe some. Remember, we had a lot of propaganda too.
Yeah.
So, okay, we knew that Jews were being killed, others were being killed, but not to the extent that we saw.
Yeah.
Our division couldn't handle it. We had a lot of doctors, but there were so many dying people in there. Luckily, some other infantry divisions got there. We took all of their medics. I don't think they cleaned out that place for a month or more.
Wow.
I was there for about a month. And then I moved on. I was working at a rest camp and all that kind of stuff. But I really don't have words to tell you.
All right.
It was the most horrible thing I ever saw. And they were everywhere, just dead people in piles, and sometimes piled up against the wall, sometimes lying over. You had to step over dead people just to see the place.
Well, listen, I've had you for over an hour, and I want to respect your guys' time. And Alec, thank you so much for facilitating. What have you pulled out from getting to know your grandpa for your whole entire life and talking to this incredible man? What have you learned?
You know, it's so funny. As a kid, I totally took it for granted. But then as I just met so many other American millennials who didn't have what I have, they might have had veteran grandfathers who were in the war, but were maybe less talkative and bottled all of the memories up, or just sort of didn't overlap with their grandparents. I've just come to really, really treasure it and also understand the importance of engaging in the world and just sort of staying active and really trying to ask ourselves, what were the conditions that produce that tragedy?
Yeah.
And could they happen again? Are they happening again?
Yeah.
So the awareness of that, I think.
We believed some of the stories we heard. We knew there was propaganda. But I'll tell you, our guys were shooting down those German guards just when they saw them.
Yeah.
Outside of there, one time my squad leader and I were walking around the area, and we saw a gang of people doing something. We didn't know what, so we went over there. They had it was obviously one of the guards, and they were at a fire escape that went up the side of the building. So up on the second floor, there were guys up there. They had a chain around this guy's neck.
Mm.
They'd pull him up till he was almost dead, and then they'd let him down and pull him up. We said, look, we know how bad it is, but you don't murder people like that. We took him as a prisoner, turned him over to the MPs.
Yeah.
If I caught somebody doing something, I would have shot him. But I didn't always catch him in the act, and I don't know what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in German uniform, scared as hell.
Right.
I wasn't going to shoot him just like that. He'd get his day in court or whatever.
Right.
And a lot of them were executed afterward.
Sure.
And there was the SS. We kept the SS for a year, a whole year.
Yeah.
In prisons, in prison camps. The Wehrmacht, we said, just get out of here.
Yeah.
They had kids there. They had kids shooting us since they were 13 years old.
Right.
At the end.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to just shoot them.
Sure.
These kids were crying.
Right.
In a uniform, you know. They'd put these guys, you know what a Panzerfaust was?
Mm-mm.
It was like a German bazooka.
Okay.
Only it shot a huge grenade, and it shot at maybe 60, 70 feet. and you shot it and it would knock down a house practically, or it would knock a tank out. They give these kids a Panzerfaust. They said, you get here, you're at this intersection of highway, you can get in the ditch, and you shoot these American tanks. Well, they were so close, they shot the explosion of these things.
Yeah.
It was like a big bomb going on.
Right.
The kids, I saw a lot of kids in uniform, they're just crying.
Yeah.
They were just young kids. And I said, geez, I think when I was that age,
Yeah.
I mean, we were young, but not that young.
Not that young. Right. Yeah.
14, 15 years old, saw them all the time. They put everybody in uniform.
Right.
They even put women in uniform. Now, I don't know how, if they used them in combat, but they were in all of our prison camps.
Yeah.
In fact, my buddy and I met a couple girls when I was at the rest camp, and they're still in German uniforms. And we got a case of beer. I had to do running the guys that were there as guests. I was part of the what do you call it, the staff. So I was running motorboats.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a big French outboard motor. Well, there's my picture there, running it in that lower right-hand picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running it. You can see the castle in the background. That was our home.
Yeah.
And that was a rest camp where we were getting the best food you could imagine.
Finally.
We couldn't believe it,
So those are the
steaks
good
and
memories, is when the GIs were basically running Europe, and they
It
got to
looks
live
like
kings.
you went from cold and not enough clothes to warm and comfortable and not wearing clothes.
Sunbathing.
Yeah. Well, I knew where it was. I was we were at the Trownsay, which is another one of those long lakes. And I had the motorboat. All I had to do was take the guys around, a little bit. We had all the fresh food from the States, all the beer, all the ice cream. And we were engineers, so we ran the motorboat thing.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing I volunteered for. So I took a shell 14 feet long, and one of the pictures on there, the kid I was with, I couldn't get in the barrel, but he was small enough. One of those pictures right on the desk. There should be one of a young guy.
There it is.
Yeah, there he is. I had met him, and he's the one, he told me, he said, hey, there's supposed to be a big cannon back in the woods. I said, let's go find it. This is a month after the war is over in Bavaria. I have never seen anything like that. Yeah. That thing, I read later the statistics on it. They could shoot this big shell, 14-foot long shell, 20 miles.
Wow.
And one of those things would knock a whole city block out.
Yeah.
But who ever heard of artillery that big? Well, Hitler had to have the biggest.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. It was dark in that afternoon in the woods. And I didn't have the best camera in the world. And there are some of the Russians we liberated. But when we went back to the rest camp, or where our rest camp was, we went back and I found the same spot that we were in the first picture. That's the same spot on the deck.
Yeah.
The brand new deck. This was a swimming camp and a restaurant and so on.
Yeah.
And so I found the same location. Well, we took that picture. How many years apart? A lot of years.
Yeah, a lot of years.
That's my squad there, plus the guy that took the picture. We're having drinks after. This is in California. You ever hear of ASDP? Army Specialized Training?
No,
They sent a whole bunch of us that we'd been in college. They sent us back to college in uniform.
In uniform, okay.
So we were all in uniform, and the guys came from all over the country, and they did it for several reasons. They wanted to have guys that could speak languages. We had language classes and some other thing. And it was a big, big idea that didn't pan out because they needed bodies.
Yeah.
But for 9 months, I was out of the war in Santa Clara University in uniform.
Yeah.
And going to San Francisco every weekend and having a ball. So here we are later when I was back in the real Army again. Now we're in the 11th Armored Division in camp. But we could get passes, and these golf clubs were still open, but nobody playing because there's no gasoline, you know. So here we are. We get our drinks at the bar, and we take them out and take a picture of us. So those are the guys that I was the closest to, plus the guy that took the picture, all during that AST, Army Specialized Training.
Well, that's cool.
It was a big idea that was fine. It didn't really work out because they needed bodies on the firing line.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, it probably saved my life.
And that's you were in that because you were an engineering student and they put you in there, or
yeah, I was in engineering. They needed engineers and language people. It was a big idea. It didn't work.
Yeah.
What they needed was bodies and behind a machine gun or something, which is what I did.
Well, Chet, thank you so much for sharing time with us.
Well,
it's such a big story, and I know everybody's going to love hearing from you. And you know, it's great to be able to share time with you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Alec, for also.
Thanks so much for doing the work you do.
And an associate producer note from Mike Van's story, my lifelong friend. He helped set this up.